broken bones, even loss of hair, stroke, brain hemorrhage, death. And the last thing is may perform dentistry. And in my head, I'm thinking like, that's an odd way to say, like, why not just say you may lose teeth? Because you just listed,
right.
Like for broken bones, he didn't say may perform orthopedic surgery. He just said you may break bones. So why is he all of a sudden like a doctor with the teeth?
He's trying to be a dentist.
Yeah.
He's practicing.
Welcome back.
Hello.
What is up? Welcome to Break and Take Spooky Season Edition.
Yes, it is spooky season. This is a Halloween episode.
Yes.
And we came as ourselves because we know that that's already scary.
Yeah, no, the last time I scared someone, it was my girlfriend, and I walked up behind her in the kitchen, and that was just me. She was just like, oh my God. And I just was walking to get peanut butter. So I figured, why not?
Jump scare.
This is just the scariest thing I own is my own human skin. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And I was going like this because since we're not wearing costumes, I still want to do something scary. And this is what I would do to induce nightmares in my younger brother when we were kids. I think I talked about this on a previous episode. Did we ever talk about this?
No.
So my brother,
you would flail your arms like a ghost.
So my younger brother, he's 2 years younger than me. So this is around, he was 7 or 8, I'm 9 or 10. And my brother would get night terrors. And so it's kind of like sleepwalking with nightmares. And he would get up and be walking around his room or be in bed, and he would make these noises, and our rooms were right next to each other. So I would hear him do things in the middle of the night, and he would just go, and I would open his door, and he'd just be sitting up in bed and looking at me, but he's still in the nightmare. And so my reaction, instead of to comfort him or to get my parents, was to just do this to try to like get inside his head in the nightmare. And my mom didn't know these night terrors were going on for a couple weeks because I wouldn't tell her. I would just like try to scare the shit out of my brother and go back to sleep. And then one day my mom walked in behind me. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I remember she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was just like, Dave's like having a nightmare. And I was just going like this, like in front of his face, trying to like make him even more scary.
Yeah, you're like a ghost.
Yeah.
Like imagine it's like an inflatable. What's those skinny guys that are at every car dealership?
The inflatable two-mans. The flailing inflatable two-mans.
Yeah, that's what you were doing to your brother.
So in my head,
the middle of his nightmare.
In my head, I was thinking, okay, I look like a human doing this in the real world, but to him, I'm just a demon on fire going like this, approaching him. So that was inside my sick 10-year-old mind.
Yes.
I wanted to, instead of comfort my brother, I wanted to, make him think he was going to hell in that moment. So that's...
Did he ever let you know did you ever go like, oh, did you see anything in your dream last night? Or did he ever disclose that it worked, basically, that you entered his dream?
Maybe to a therapist, never to me.
Never admitted it to
you. It would be an interesting episode if I had him on and just said, tell me all of the psychological terrors when you were a kid and how I was involved. So I'd have to ask him. I haven't thought about it in a long time. And as I was doing this, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I used to do to my brother.
It clicked for you. You're like, wow, I remember now why my brother is the way he is now. Yeah. It all makes sense.
Exactly. So yeah, I wanted to do that. This is my costume. Just imagine me 9 feet tall, flaming, my tongue's out. I'm doing some sort of hellish TikTok dance. I'm trying to induce nightmares.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, use your imagination.
Yes. We will induce nightmares. I mean, I do that on a regular basis.
Yes.
And I hope all of our listeners are big fans of Halloween. I'm a huge fan of Halloween. I love scary movies. I love going out now for Halloween, especially in New York City. It's like the best city to go out and for Halloween. Like you can be any age and go out on Halloween in New York City. So I'm living my dream here for now.
Yeah, that's the underrated thing about living in a city, because people always say Yeah, and I get caught in this mindset too, where I go, okay, I want to live away from the city, maybe an hour, and then you get outside the city, and everything's more low key. And then when you do that, you just get kids trick or treating in a neighborhood. There's not really any adult things going on for Halloween.
No.
And then you get into the city, and we're gonna get into this because it has to do with the documentary. But it's like, okay, while your kids are out trick or treating, do you want to get fucked up and have someone try to chase you with a chainsaw in some haunted house, or go to a bar and drink absinthe and have a witch try to fuck you? Like, those are the things that you get to do in the city.
Yeah.
And
spin the wheel.
Exactly.
It's endless opportunity here.
Yeah. So I'm all for city Halloween.
Yeah. Oh yes. But yeah, so the story we're going to get into today is an older story. I remember hearing about this originally back in my radio days, back in like 2017 was when I first heard of this. And I thought it was unbelievable then. And now here we are many years later, like, I don't even know, like 5 years later. And I saw a documentary on Hulu called Monster Inside America's Most Extreme Haunted House. And it was about this same guy and this same story. So it's about Russ McKamey and the McKamey Manor. Had you ever heard of them prior to me letting you kind of in on this?
No, I didn't hear of Russ McKamey and the McKamey Manor, but when I went to the McKamey Manor YouTube channel, I remembered seeing clips on someone else's YouTube channel, because a bunch of people have made clips about these girls being tortured, guys and girls in the house, just doing like these insane waterboarding things. And so when I went to his channel, I immediately remembered, like a few years ago, I was going through YouTube and I saw someone else made a video about it, but I just didn't remember that it was the McKamey Manor. So it was so, and that's just a testament to how wide the influence of this place was, because it was just popping up on other people's YouTube channels. Everyone was reacting to this, and it was just all everywhere.
Huge back then. Yeah, and the Facebook page there were like multiple Facebook groups, but they were like, thousands and thousands and thousands of people deep, which was pretty insane. So just, I guess, a brief description of what McKamey Manor is. It's an American haunted house attraction in which survival horror-style events are enacted. It is considered a pioneer of extreme haunted attractions. Founded in San Diego by Russ McKamey, it was originally located on his property until it was moved to Tennessee in 2017. To participate, guests must sign a liability waiver that includes the inability to leave the experience without the staff's permission and being subjected to various forms of physical and psychological torture, including having bones broken, teeth removed without anesthesia, and being drugged.
Yeah, so normal.
That sounds fun, right?
Normal stuff, yeah. It's also funny that this started in San Diego, because this is the most un-San Diego thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Right? I thought so too. I was like, is that correct?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this should have been started in like North Dakota or something.
Yeah,
like just some random middle America place.
Yeah, someone's going to get done surfing, going for a walk on the beach, and then decide, I want to be waterboarded. It just doesn't sound like a San Diego thing.
And also, because originally this was so the owner is Russ McKamey, and he had a barn. And I'm like, where do you find a barn? I've never been to San Diego, but where do you find a barn? I don't think of barns in San Diego.
Yeah, I've been to San Diego once. I stayed in the outskirts of San Diego, up in the hills. It's similar to LA, where you have the central location, and then there's a bunch of houses in the hills surrounding it. So I'm guessing that this was San Diego proper and not the city of San Diego, because I don't know where you put a farm. And like when they showed people driving up, it was just they were driving for a while,
middle of nowhere.
And then you were kind of approaching a property that didn't have anything around it. So I don't know. I doubt it was like actually in the city. So he probably, and like for legal reasons, probably didn't want a lot of neighbors. Like this would be hard to do if you're in an apartment complex and people are just
Yes.
screaming as you're trying to go to bed at 3:00 in the
Yes.
morning. You're like,
Yeah. So I made a list. I looked at the website. Anybody can look it up if you're curious about it, McKameyManor.com. But the requirements to go to this place, so you have to be 21 or older, or you need parental consent if you're between 18 and 20, which I don't understand, because aren't you a legal adult at 18?
yeah.
What if you don't even know your parents?
Yeah. You could go to war when you're 17. I
Right?
think you could sign up when you're 17 to get shipped off to Iraq when you're 18. So, and I mean, look,
Yes.
to be fair, it did take me 5 minutes to figure out whether I was watching a Hamas documentary or not, because that's how gory it was. It was like blood
Yeah.
and like literal waterboarding. Like I was not expecting
crazy.
what I saw in this documentary that we'll get into. I was like, what the hell am I watching?
Yes. So some more requirements: you need to complete a sports physical with a doctor's note. You need to pass a background check, which is also funny because I'm like, I think the only background check we need is the owner
Yeah.
of this property.
Yeah. It's like this guy definitely could have someone do a psychological evaluation on him.
Yes. So you also need to complete a screening, FaceTime or phone call, have proof of medical insurance, sign a detailed 40-page waiver, and also pass a drug test supposedly every day of the experience. Now, when we get into like the experience, I don't know when they have time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, when are they drug testing you?
Like,
as you're like tied up.
Yeah. You're in the cage and he's just sliding a piss cup in there. He's like, while you're choking on this rope, can you just whip your cock out real quick and pee in this?
Yeah. I need to make sure that, but also it's like, if you're in the experience, it's like the only way I'm drugged is if you drugged me.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
so, don't you know?
Yeah, and I want to be on drugs for this. After what I saw, there's no way I'm going into this sober.
Yes.
I'm downing a bottle of Jack
absolutely.
Daniels and I'm smoking. I don't want to be able to feel
Agreed.
anything physically or emotionally going through the things that he put people through. Hey guys, this is a quick break in the episode to tell you about Breaking Takes Premium, where we will be dropping monthly bonus episodes and allowing you to become part of the show.
For $5 a month, you will get access to bonus episodes, that's audio and video, be able to suggest topics and stories for us to give our takes, AMAs, minisodes, and more.
Head to breakingtakes.supercast.com to sign up for Breaking Takes Premium today. That's breakingtakes.supercast.com for full bonus access.
And if you aren't able to sign up for premium, that's okay, because if you still want to support the show, you can rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Seriously, the more ratings are such a big help when it comes to new listeners discovering the show, because it tells the algorithm to push us higher in the search results. So the more reviews and ratings, the better.
We'll also read the comments that you leave on Apple Podcasts and give you a shout out at the end of each show. So get creative, leave us some badass comments. Now, back to the episode.
No, agreed, which is what led me to the FAQ. I just pulled a couple of them. So, and that was a shocking thing that you just said. So, can we be thrown out of the haunt for any reason? The answer is yes. We do not allow foul language, pushing, vulgar behavior, weapons of any kind, or any drugs or alcohol, which is, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to cuss as you're like whipping me.
Yeah.
You're lashing me as I'm like
he's
tied up and bound somewhere.
Yeah, he's pouring paint thinner down your throat and all of his assistants are just holding you down to a table and you scream, fuck, and he just stops the whole thing and he goes, whoa. If you're going to bring that type of desecration into my haunted house while I'm torturing you, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. So that seems weird.
Yeah. So also another question was, what type of attraction do you have? This is a 10-hour or plus extreme attraction. So basically people go here and it's like an endless, it's literally just an endless torture thing. And it can go on forever. However, one FAQ that made me smile was, is McKamey Manor handicap accessible? And yes, it is.
Really?
They do not discriminate against the handicap. If you're in a wheelchair and you want to get tortured, if you are mentally disabled and you want to get tortured, come to McKamey Manor.
Oh,
they don't judge.
Oh my God. I would pay a quadriplegic who can't feel anything to go through this experience just to fuck with the guy, because Russ would be like,
yeah, no feeling.
I've tied his balls up. I've spanked the shit out of him. I've torched this dude's nipples off, and the quadriplegic is just sitting there smiling, just going like, yeah, this is, you're all pussies. I don't feel shit. So maybe it's not only handicap accessible, but it's like handicap approved. Like you should be handicapped in order to conquer this experience.
We would prefer you that way.
Yeah, it's better for you.
That's the only way you're going to get out.
If you're disabled, it'll actually be a better experience because you won't be able to feel it.
Yeah. But then I was like, oh, they probably also say that as like a loophole, because it's like, oh, well, you're going to leave here handicapped. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's accessible. All right.
Yeah. You're definitely not leaving with all the limbs that you came in with, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And so I saw the documentary. I needed to watch it because I wanted to just understand a little bit more. I'll throw it over to you, and maybe you can explain the gist of the documentary since you watched it as well.
Yeah. So basically, I feel like I watched an hour and a half of a torture / like Harvey Weinstein document. Like that was kind of the vibe of what I felt like I was watching. It was like, I thought this was just torture documentary. And then all of a sudden people started talking about sexual abuse and people falling asleep in the house and not remembering what happened to them and what he did. And then Russ, the head of the haunted house, is doing all these things using the documentary as a form of Tinder. And that all that stuff came out towards the end, where I'm like, oh, this guy's like, this is his dating app. This is how he's meeting girls. This whole thing makes sense now. Something happened to him when he was a kid, and we can get into this because like there's probably a reason for why he's doing this. But when all the sexual stuff came into play, I started to think, oh, this is why he's doing it. He wants to get close to these girls in order to have them prove their self to him. It's almost like, did you ever read the book The Game?
No.
So it's a dating book, and it's basically teaches guys how to manipulate the power dynamic to make women want to sleep with you. And one of the things that you do is you neg women. And I know this because I read and took notes on the book like 7 years ago when I was a junior in college, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking like formulaically just have mad decent game.
Formulaically get bitches.
Yeah, like I'm a very routinized guy. Like I love having like a daily routine. I have my bullet points written out, so I go, oh, why not add sex into that? I'm just gonna fucking add this into the routine.
Why not calculate how to get laid?
So yeah, and then so I felt like this was the game with torture, where he's using torture as a way to manipulate the power dynamic with these women through this haunted experience, through this scare experience. And then they want to prove that the women want to prove themselves to him because he's such a big figure in this haunted world. So basically, just like an overview of how I experienced the documentary was, I went into it, didn't really know a lot about it. I just thought it was going to be your typical scare documentary, and maybe one of the props went wrong. You know, maybe something fell on someone and they ended up getting seriously hurt, or they died and there was a scandal and he tried to cover it up. But I thought like in general it was just going to be an extreme haunted house experience. And then you get into it and then you start seeing all of the just these people signing waivers and doing all this willingly because Russ McKamey is like a god to these people. They describe him as a cult leader. And so a lot of these people are either guys that have had PTSD experiences or women who may or may not have had PTSD experiences, but like see him as a sort of leader and they want to prove themselves to him. And so they enter this haunted scare thing. They don't really know what's going on. And then all of a sudden there's like a moment where it starts to get real. And one of the girls I remembered, she said that moment for her was when she was tied down and had a tarantula being put on her face. And she was saying, stop, I don't want this to happen anymore. And Russ put the tarantula on her face and warned her that if she's upset, it might bite her. And then obviously you don't want to get bitten by a tarantula. But like that level of like, holy fuck, this guy's locking people in ice boxes with water for hours.
Yes.
He's pouring
this
mud.
Is beyond
pouring mud.
Your average haunted house that you can go to. Like every state has like haunted houses that you go to, and they jump out at you. They have like fake chainsaws that they chase you with.
Yeah.
But like at those places, you're not allowed to really be touched. It does happen. I've been to some that do, but like the whole point is like you don't touch the actor doesn't touch you.
Yeah.
And you leave. You pay to go there and then you leave in like a couple hours and go home.
Yeah.
This place is like next level, and so it got a lot of attention with just like horror enthusiasts basically, like wanting to go and experience something next level where it's like a simulation of a legitimate experience where you think you're going to die. But the problem is that like this guy basically advertised it as like it what I just said, but also like, you'll have a safe word. Don't worry. Like if you use a safe word, like we'll stop. Also, another hook that we didn't talk about was that he's advertising it as like, this is so scary. If you complete this, you win $20,000. So there's also that where like people, one, are just obsessed with horror and want to be like kind of badass and be like, oh, look what I did. That's so cool. Kind of like Fear Factor, I guess. If you like win Fear Factor, it's like, okay, you're kind of badass. You ate like a scorpion or some shit. So I get that. But then it's like, to this day, from 2017 to now, almost 2024, no one has ever won $20,000 because there is no actual end. Like, he just made it up.
Yeah, he decides when it ends. He says that in the film.
Exactly.
He says, I will not end this until I say it's over, or I believe that you're at the psychological or physical breaking point. So it's like, he can drag it on. Of course, no one's going to win the $20,000 because let's say someone lasts for 3 days and they're not giving up. He'll just pull out a pistol and say, all right, we're playing Russian roulette while I waterboard you. Anyone in their right mind is going to go, all right, that's not, worth it. And then he goes, okay, well, you don't win the 20,000 now. So he decides everything. There's no set time limit.
Yeah.
There's no public formula of how it's going to go. I looked at other scare experiences while I was watching this, and they also mentioned another one at the end. I think it was called Marasma or something. I forgot the name, but it's in Chicago. And they list on their site, here's everything we're going to do to you. Here's everything that you should expect to experience. Please don't sign up for this if you have any of these conditions or don't want physical contact or anything like that. With him, it's just like this general, I don't know, maybe you'll get choked, maybe you'll get tied up, maybe I'll pull your molars out, who knows, because like that's also it's a weird, like one of the things that struck me as super weird, which you mentioned, is the contract, and they had a lawyer looking over the contract in the documentary, and she's like, you can't do any of this. This is
That's
illegal.
what I was thinking. I was like, what's in that 40-page like waiver?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to get a hold of that 40-page waiver just to like see what's in here. But I'm like, I don't think you can like almost kill people for a living. But
no.
But here we are. He's doing it.
Yeah, you can't have someone sign a waiver that says, I may blow your legs off, sign here, and then get them to sign it. and then just blow both of their legs off with an RPG and go, well, I mean, it's on you. You sign the waiver. Like a waiver can't. That's something. I forget who I was talking to about it. Someone else on the other guest podcast that I do, but he was talking about how most waivers claim things that aren't legal. You could actually challenge like 90% of the waivers that people make you sign because they're not, a lot of times they're not doing it through a lawyer. They're just writing up their own shit that won't hold up in court. So a lot of people get scared out of suing people because they're like, oh, I signed if I lost my head.
Totally.
If I lost my head, I can't go back to them. I have to walk around headless now. I have no recourse. When in reality, you can just go to sue them, and then the waiver shit is not going to hold up.
Yes, and I think from watching the documentary, as you said, a lot of the people that were so the documentary was told from the perspective of people that have worked with Russ or participated in this extreme attraction. And most of these people were either men that were like ex-military and like suffer from PTSD or like have kind of a kink for like that adrenaline. And same for the women. Like it was kind of like they both kind of had a kink for adrenaline, pain, fear. But none of them seemed mentally well. To me, like as I was watching the documentary, I was like, I don't think any of these people should have paid to go to therapy, not to go to McKamey Manor.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think this is what they needed.
Yeah. And look, I'm with you, and I also identify with that because I've done a lot of things to avoid going to therapy. I've started multiple podcasts. I've started.
Yeah.
I do Muay Thai, get the shit kicked out of me. So I get that where you're like, well, therapy seems.
What else can I do?
I go skydive. Like therapy seems so boring, but I know it works with good therapists. But there is a thing where it's like, how much of what you're describing that you need to feel? These people are saying things like, I want to relive my trauma, or I want to take hold of the scary, the fear in my life. I want to. One of the girls was like, I want to get into acting and horror. I was like, there are other ways to do that.
Yeah, she's like, I'm like a huge horror fan, so like I really wanted to be in this world because like Russ is so big in horror. And I was like, yeah, I think there are probably, you could probably go to an audition or something.
Or LinkedIn
somewhere.
LinkedIn, maybe just, send a resume.
Maybe apply for a job.
Yeah. Go to a casting call for a horror movie. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, how much of this could be solved by sitting in a room with a therapist for 60 to 90 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it, because I felt terrible while watching it, because basically it was a bit fucked up, because some of the controversy around this is, one, like probably this is not legal for one. And then two, a lot of times there were claims that he did not listen to the safe word that they had agreed upon.
Yeah.
Which at that point is like, okay, now you're legitimately torturing me because I used the safe word. And the fact that there is this imaginary $20,000 that like nobody has ever won. So it's very controversial in that way. But as I was watching the documentary, I just like could not feel bad for any of the participants, because they were telling their story as in like, oh, this traumatized me so much. Like he didn't listen to my safe word, or like he gets off on like beating people or like having control over people. And I think that's all true, but you still like signed up and went there. Nobody could have paid me any amount of money to go to this place.
Yeah, no, I do feel sympathy for the people that went into the haunted house, especially because this documentary was filmed last year, I believe, and came out this year. But or yeah, well, like at least after 2022, this was filmed, and it goes back. A lot of these people look super young in the documentary. The girl looks like one of the girls looks like she's about like 19 or 20.
Damn, really? I didn't really pay attention to that.
I'm just going off of looks.
It's valid.
Just look-wise when they go back and show them in the documentary. And now they're probably 26, 27 because they were talking about 2014, 2015. So I can sympathize with them on the fact that there are, and they talk about this in the documentary. There's one guy who apparently studies leisure and violence, and the scare houses fall into that. That there are people that, for whatever reason, they feel the need to do that. Like I feel the need to go to the gym or work out. Other people feel the need to have these sort of extreme experiences. And they even talk about that, like with ultramarathon runners and
totally.
free solo.
Like pushing your body to the limit.
Yeah, and those people are psychos too.
Totally.
I think anyone who wants to
people
run
climbing mountains and like skyscrapers with no harnesses.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, anyone who wants to run 200 miles in the Mojave Desert should also be psychologically evaluated. That is absolutely insane. But like that is normalized because people are doing it in the name of self-improvement, whereas these scare houses are more taboo because a lot of it is sort of this BDSM sexual crossover. Yeah. So I do sympathize with people that thought they were getting a safe and extreme experience and ended up getting an extremely unsafe, traumatizing extreme experience. And because they're probably somewhere in the range of 19 to 22, you're not really thinking that far ahead yet. I'm 29 and I'm still, there's a lot of things where I'll just, like I literally, this year I went into a cave full of crocodiles that I thought was a normal tour. And I was like, what the fuck did I get myself into? And definitely double check the tours when you go to a developing country like Panama. Definitely verify when someone says we're going to go on a cave tour. You should probably look at the Google comments, and if someone's like, yeah, this cave is crocodile infested, I'm never coming here again, you should probably look into that. So I was 29 when I did that, and I was just like, I think I'm going to die. So if I was 19 or 20, I could definitely see myself signing up for something, being unaware. This guy's also very cultish, has a lot of control, which we mentioned.
Yeah, he seems like he's the type of guy that's like personable and funny, and you feel like you're friends. Yeah. Like before the whole show begins, and then once it kind of begins, he just becomes pretty manipulative throughout, and kind of just once you're under his control, he just like stops listening to you. Yeah. And it was one thing, like it definitely weirded me out as I was watching it. You could tell that he got off on this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the weird thing. Like just the way he was talking as he's filming it and whatnot. And he kept having girlfriends like come. He literally was hand selecting. So it's basically, you think you can go to like your haunted attraction, you just pay money and you go, right? Like this is designed where apparently it supposedly has like almost a 30,000 person long wait list, which I also don't believe. But you would think you sign up and then as time goes on, eventually it's going to get to your name and you go. But no, he actually just like hand selects people that he like either wants to just overpower or that he thinks are hot, and he wants to just torture and like watch a hot girl in his mind like scream and cry.
Yeah, this is the adult version of that thing when you're in 3rd and 4th grade, and when a boy likes a girl, he pulls on her hair or calls her insults because he likes her. Because boys are immature. He never got out of that phase. He just kept upping it and upping it and upping it. And then he sees a girl that he likes and goes, well, if I want to spend the rest of my life with this girl, I have to physically torture her. So otherwise, she's never going to know that I like her. That's the only way to communicate this.
Yeah. I thought this was funny because we've talked about this. Well, we've kind of, tongue-in-cheek joked about businesses like this where you can just like promote something and get away with doing something as insane as this.
Oh, yeah.
And then here we are watching it. I'm like, this guy kind of got it figured out for himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's somehow living the dream, his dream.
Yeah. He clearly loves it. He, like you said, he also clearly gets off on it. He talks to his torture victims in the scare house like I talk to myself when I eat an entire pie of pizza, where he just goes, oh yeah, you fucking like that shit? You piece of shit, yes. You like that? You want to keep going? You want to keep going? Mm. And I'm like, what? Is he jerking off camera?
That's what I was
if he
thinking.
Just like, because their eyes are wrapped up there. Like, the reason he blindfolds them isn't because he needs them to not see where he lives. It's because he's just jerking off as soon as the torture starts.
Exactly. That's exactly what it sounded like as I was watching it. I was like, he's getting, like, he has a boner for sure.
100%.
Like,
he's got his assistants he's just getting jerked off left and right. His assistants are just sucking him. It's like a whole orgy. Everyone's having an orgy that knows that it's going on, except for the victim that signed up for it. They're like, I'm getting tortured. What's this mud on my face? And then meanwhile, it's just like everyone's semen. It's just like a huge torture bukkake just spraying all over the place. So yeah, he gets off on it for sure.
Yeah. What were some of the specific things that they did in there? So what we saw in the documentary, I know one was basically you were tied to a chair and there was essentially like your head was in a box so he could just like pour water. Was it just like he was like filling it up with water so you couldn't breathe?
Yeah, he would. It looked like this. It was his girlfriend they mentioned. I remember that part.
Yes.
And he would make her go through the haunt every day. And so, which, is the stamina on this girl. The stamina on this girl to just be like, yeah, it's 7 a.m. Let's fucking round 2. Here we go.
Let's fucking go.
It looked like some sort of cage contraption that would stop the water from going below her neck. So he would just fill it up and her head is in there. And obviously, once it gets above your mouth and your nose, you can't fucking breathe. And she was just like you couldn't see what was inside the box, but he was obviously filling it with water.
Yeah, there was another one where they were like burying you alive, essentially, and not even with like soft dirt. This was like, it was like slime. Yeah. It was mud, thick mud.
Oh yeah, it was worse than waterboarding. It was like mud boarding. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yes. Yeah, and then there were people in cages. I don't think in the documentary we saw all of what happened because a lot of the before and after of the people that went in was like shocking. Like they went in looking like just a normal person and they came out like they for real got the shit beat out of them. They had like busted lips, black eyes, like bruised everywhere, broken bones. Like they looked horrible.
Yeah.
So we didn't really see, I think, everything in the documentary, but he has as you mentioned before, on his YouTube channel, there's like 30 plus videos of strange things. So please watch it, people, if you want to know what we're talking about.
Which is still live, by the way. He's not trying to hide it at all. His Twitter is still live. His website, you could still go sign up for a form and go try to enter the scare house. So he's probably proud of this documentary that's getting him so much attention. And I bet you that there are people out there that will go, oh, this is making me want to do it even more. Like, fuck the Hulu bullshit. I'm going to sign up for this now because now it's even more credible.
Yeah, exactly. So now he's going to make more money off this. He's going to get more Tinder bays.
Yeah.
Like, he should expand this to a whole business. He needs a McKamey mating app.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He needs to make a whole enterprise out of this at this point, since it's working so well for him.
What is his Tinder bio? It's like, I love music, long walks in the park, and tying up my sexual partners and waterboarding them. Like, his dating profile would be pretty hilarious, I'm sure, if we could see it.
Yeah, there was a part in the documentary where it disclosed that like his kids like hate him and want nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
So that's probably a sign that he's mentally unwell.
Because he probably tested it out on them. As soon as they could walk, he goes, well, now I could tie him up. So let's just run a demo on my 5-year-old child.
This is probably a silly question, but would you ever do something like this? Like, okay, would you ever do something like this if the $20,000 actually existed?
No.
Because I think that's a better, no.
For $20K, no.
It's not enough money.
I'd do it for $1 million, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
I genuinely, there's no amount of money that you could ever pay me to do this. And maybe that's why I felt, because you came about this from a more sympathetic angle for the participants. As I was watching this, was just like honestly smiling and laughing, just being like, why would you ever do this? I did understand like the desire for that adrenaline or something, because you're addicted to it, really, from whatever trauma you experienced in your past, whether it was in Iraq or an abusive relationship or whatever. That I do empathize with, but I am such a risk adverse person. You could never, ever pay me anything to do this. I would never let anybody have like full control over me at all.
Because he has done it with a lot of guys, but he's done it with mostly women, and they're not really able to fight back, and a lot of that, like, they're also subdued and tied up. If I did it, I would bring my own 40-page waiver and say, all right, you're going to do all this shit to me, but I need you to sign here, and if anything should happen to you while you're trying to tie me up or waterboard me, I am legally unbound by any sort of implications, and you have to sign here. So I feel like if he keeps his word and I am done when he says the experience is done, I feel like I would just try to flip it on him and somehow just like get out of the ropes,
we're not.
fucking shove him down in the box, start waterboarding him and being like, yeah, you like that? I just start fucking like jerking off right in his face, like, you fucking like that shit. And he's like, we're done. Or maybe that would
No, he's like, oh wait, I do like this.
Maybe he's like, wait, yeah, I think this is what I was going for. I should have done this sooner.
Good idea.
Yeah.
But there was one guy in the documentary that went to it and was like, kind of had that mentality and was like, yeah, I think, throughout the process, like, I was just somebody that like didn't give up and like really gave Russ shit back as he was talking to me, and Russ like kicked him out. Russ was like, no, like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, go. And so, he genuinely specifically wants people that he can break.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he just kicks you out because he's like, oh, you're no fun.
Yeah. And was there even a safe word? Did he communicate that, or was that not in play at all for him?
There was supposed to be a safe word for every participant that goes in.
Yeah. Because he obviously didn't honor the safe words, and
which is a big problem. That's where this goes downhill. Big time.
And he even said the experience doesn't stop unless I want it to stop. Imagine any other business doing that. Like, imagine if you go into an ice cream store and you say, I'm done, see you later, and you throw out your stuff, and the owner's like, I'll fucking tell you when you're done eating ice cream. I'm gonna fucking shove this chocolate rainbow down your goddamn throat until I tell you I'm done. And you're like, what is...
You keep asking for the check at dinner, and then they just keep spoon feeding you.
They're fucking paddling your ass and feeding you fucking chicken parm, and you're just like, I've finished 20 minutes ago. What's like?
Please, no more.
No other.
Don't disrespect the chef.
Yeah, yeah, yes, chef. Yes, chef. But
it's like the menu, basically.
Exactly. That's the Russ McKamey would be a perfect sort of match for the kitchen in the menu. I feel like he would just be willing to do anything to any client, and in that world. Like if there was a McKamey
Yeah.
if there was a McKamey menu crossover world where
If this turns into like a theme park,
yeah.
we have a lot of ideas for you,
Yeah.
Russ. Okay, we need to make this a theme park. We need more apparel. We need an app. We need a lot. If you want to take this to the next level, we got you.
Yeah, if there's a Marvel universe of torture characters, you could definitely put the menu and Russ in there for sure.
Yeah, which the menu, if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty good kind of, it's like a psychological movie, not really a horror movie on HBO. So you should watch that. And I came today wielding a list of apparently like the top 10 scariest movies according to science. So we can get into that as well. But I encourage anybody to watch this documentary because it's pretty bizarre. And the more bizarre part is that this place is still standing. And like, if you're a hot girl, you can probably message Russ McKamey and you will just jump to first in line.
Yeah.
And he will be happy to have you there.
Yeah, that's not a good sign when someone claims to have a waiting list of 30,000 people and you message him and that day he gets back to you and goes, yeah, we just had a spot open up. You want to do it tomorrow?
Yes, that's what he does. That verbatim was in the documentary.
Yeah.
Was that he kind of was manipulating it like that, which is crazy. I'm like, this guy's next level where it's like people would be like, oh, I know the like list is really long, but like I'm a big fan. And it's like he like looked at your profile picture and saw you had titties and was like, oh my God, a spot just opened up tomorrow. Yeah. Like, be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or you're going to miss. And then he holds it over their heads being like, oh, or you're going to miss this opportunity. Like there's like 30,000 people on the wait list.
Did anything strike you as odd beyond the obvious with the contract where he was listing all the things that could go wrong? When you were hearing that? Because I wrote down something when I heard it that was like,
no,
that sounds weird.
Please. I mean,
so
go for it because I don't remember noting anything.
So in the waiver, he's very direct about all the things that can happen to you. And he says you may experience aneurysm, broken bones, even loss of hair, stroke, brain hemorrhage, death. And the last thing is may perform dentistry. And in my head, I'm thinking like, that's an odd way to say, like, why not just say you may lose teeth? Because you just listed, like for broken bones. For broken bones, he didn't say may perform orthopedic surgery. He just said you may break bones. So why is he all of a sudden like a doctor with the teeth?
He's trying to be a dentist.
Yeah.
He's practicing. He failed out of dental school.
Yeah.
But he hasn't given up on his dream yet, Zach.
Yeah.
So that's just like a little add-in. He's like, before we start this, I actually need to really work on my cavity fillings. Like, so can I just take a look in there and see what's going on?
Yeah, like he's not doing it in a torturous way. He's giving you a deep clean. He's not just ripping out your molars. He's going in. He's spraying the water in. He's allowing you to use the saliva. He's giving you hits of the fucking laughing gas. When I heard that, I was like, I need to write that down because there's everything else in this list is just super straightforward. But then he's just like may perform dentistry, and that was just an interesting choice by Russ McKamey. Yes. I'd love to know why he's trying to be super professional with the teeth, but in the other things he's like, I might cut off your leg. Like that's fine.
That's true. It's like he should have said may perform amputation.
Yeah.
May perform new hairstyling, as in like everyone's leaving here with a buzz cut.
Yeah, like, exactly.
So that's really interesting. But maybe that's what he's trying to do during the day. Yeah. He's a dentist, a wannabe dentist during the day, torture artist during the night. I mean, he's made all his dreams come true.
Yeah. May manicure.
That's America for you, baby.
Yeah. May manicure your fingers down to the bone.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he said he like you might lose fingernails.
Yeah.
That's another thing. That's what I'm saying. Like nothing could make me go to this. I I guess I just don't have whatever specific PTSD that this is, because nothing is making me like, I just can't. I can't even. This is like, when you go to the doctor or I don't know, therapy or psych, they're always like, oh, like, have you had any like suicidal thoughts? Like, I'm always like, sometimes, because I'm diagnosed with anxiety, I've had depression, like but I've never thought of that because I simply cannot like harm myself. Literally cannot. And I know not a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people have, but for me, like, I can't. I am so risk adverse and such a control freak that I'm like, I could never harm myself. Absolutely not. I would like to die, but it won't be by me.
Well, Sam, you're in luck because a spot just opened up for tomorrow if you want to try to win the 20K. You may have some teeth filed down in a very professional fashion, but that's the only risk.
Yeah. Can you imagine if I went and I just like annoy him so much that he's like, cut. Just stop the show. Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Or he's just waterboarding you and he looks inside your mouth and goes, is that a cavity? Wait, let me just cap that before we move on. Sorry. It's in the waiver. I said I may perform some dental tasks, but you signed it, so it's like, it's fine.
It's really going to bother me if I don't just get that now. We can't move forward.
Do you remember the guy who went to war 3 times in Iraq? He was one of the main guys, did 3 tours, and he was talking about his experience. And that's also something that stuck out to me. This guy went on 3 tours in Iraq and suffers from PTSD. And he came back to the United States, understandably seeking out things to sort of quell the anxiety, quell the PTSD, get back into normal life. And the guy's talking about the McKamey Manor experience, and he goes, yeah, it gave me the same feeling of being outside the wire in Iraq. And for people who don't know what outside the wire is, and they explain this in the documentary, there's the FOB, which is the forward operations base, where it's fenced off, everything is safe. And then you go outside the FOB into enemy territory, which is outside the wire. You could get blown up. You step on an IED, get shot. Like, you're basically in the dead zone. And I'm just thinking, like, if an experience makes you feel like you're in a Middle Eastern combat zone, there's probably some shady things going on there. Like, you should probably second guess the person who's running the experience. If you go through it and you're like, oh yeah, that was kind of like being held captive by ISIS. Like, it kind of like gave me a similar feeling that one time when I was a prisoner of war. It gives me like these similar feelings.
Yeah, no, the trauma is real. And that is something I want to PSA, my friends. Like, trauma lives in your body. Like, even if you feel like you're okay, like, your body is still holding all that trauma. So a lot of the participants came out like, and they're still fucked up.
Yeah.
Because this stuff, like, even though you consented to going into it, like, you didn't really know exactly what was going to happen while you were in there. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened, but you didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And then you leave and like you literally need to go to the hospital. Like, you actually are beaten up and fucked up.
Yeah.
And he didn't probably listen to your safe word, which is really scary. I would genuinely think I'm going to get killed. Like, I know there was a point in their heads where it's like, okay, I used my safe word and he is not stopping. And now I'm actually scared that I'm going to get murdered here.
Yeah. And you could get murdered without getting any of your teeth fixed, which would be a bummer because he's performing so much dentistry in there. You at least want to die with a good set of veneers.
I mean, he might do post-mortem. He doesn't say.
Yeah.
I think he might do post-mortem real quick before your body gets into like rigor mortis.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to get in there quick before that jaw locks up.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of all the, like, obviously the torture, and it also mentions in the movie, like we said, every one of these people gave up. Everyone tries to go through the haunted house. They try to get to the end of it. They don't win the 20K. No one has succeeded. I'm watching this and I'm thinking, maybe we should send Russ to Palestine to torture Hamas, because this war would be over. This war would be over in 2 hours. If he got his hands on that terrorist group and he put them...
He's a fearless leader of America.
If he brought the McKamey Manor over to Hamas and made like the Middle East Manor, this war would be done in an hour. Like, they'd be like, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. This guy, Russ McKamey's an absolute psychopath. I want nothing to do with this. So maybe we should direct him in a better place. Just use his energy. He obviously, like, when people wrote down when they were in third grade, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. He goes, I want to work at Guantanamo Bay. So we should give him his own torture cell, but just do it in a place where it's going to do good.
Yeah, if we can get him like that, yes. I fear that he just, like, he's all control. So as soon as he's outside of his little McKamey Manor, he's like scared to do that. But you bring a good point. Like, maybe you're right. I saw President Joe Biden was just in Israel. Maybe who we actually needed on Air Force One was Russ McKamey. Yeah. I mean, he knows fear and pain better than anyone.
Right on the border of Gaza and Israel. Just put the McKamey Manor.
He's border patrol.
You said it. You tell Hamas, if you get through to Israel, fair game, but you got to get through Russ McKamey first. And no one's going to get through. If his record stands, then he's a goddamn American hero. He's undefeated. Yeah, exactly. So I like realistically, this guy's not changing. So he's already, it didn't say how old he was, but I'm guessing he's in like his early mid 50s. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, 50, 60, around there.
And you're not going to change this guy. So you either have to lock him up or put him in a war zone. And like, he would probably rather be in a war zone torturing people than torturing people in prison, because you have the funding of the United States government. He could be like, send me 8 dominatrix outfits and a pipe bomb, and they're like, what do you need the pipe bomb for? And he's like, that's a weird question, why didn't you ask me about the dominatrix outfits? And the government's like, you're right, we told you could have anything, you just take it.
Yeah, no, I wonder if we will live to see the day that he like gets arrested. Yeah. Because this is like one of those stories that it's just like, when eventually there will be another documentary and it'll be like, oh, the downfall of Russ McKamey. Yeah. And he actually goes to prison. Yeah. But for now, his opportunity is still available. Yeah. And like we said, if you're hot, just know you can cut the line.
How much do you think social media is to blame for this? For like the explosion and the gravitation of all these teenagers, young adults to McKamey Manor?
Hugely. Like, massively. That is nobody would even know about this fucking place. Yeah. Like, except for like his neighbors that he tortured. Yeah.
Seriously.
And his girlfriends that he keeps like bringing over and torturing, because this exploded on Facebook and all these YouTube videos. I mean, these YouTube videos from, I guess these aren't his specific channel, but there's a lot of YouTube videos that depict some things or talk about things, and they're from like 6+ years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, like, this is all massive because of social media.
Yeah. There was one girl who was talking about her torture experience. I think it was not the darker girl that said she was queer, but the other one with the kind of witch haircut with the moon pendant. You know that one?
Yeah. Was that the one that went back again?
Yeah, she went back multiple times.
Yeah, she was so fucked up that she got re-manipulated into going back.
The one that fell asleep and she was like, I don't know what happened when I was asleep. That one. And she said, for the first time she was in the McKamey Manor, she said, I was in there for 7 to 8 hours. getting tortured, but I'm a celebrity. All these people are watching. And I'm thinking this is TikTok's fault. People will literally get tortured to become famous. And I don't think any of these people in the documentary would have done this if they didn't know they would be on camera. Because that's maybe the military guy. Because I do think the military guy, I respect him because he was in it for the love of the game. He was like, I fucking saw some shit in Iraq. I need to feel something back in the States. But these other two girls were always talking about how many people were watching and they wanted to be famous and that they had thousands of people messaging them. So I don't think those two girls would have done this if nothing was being filmed, if they just went into the haunted house and there was no documentation of it, if they didn't have anything to post.
No, absolutely. But that, I mean, I don't know. I still just felt like it was kind of funny in a way because you can just do a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, just like there are other ways that you can get yourself out there and not have to subject yourself to actual torture.
Yeah. Yeah,
because that was funny that they're like, but I'm famous. There's like hundreds of thousands of people watching. I'm like, fuck, we'll watch anything, but we're gonna forget about you tomorrow.
Yeah,
like this doesn't make you famous.
Yeah, it's like, have you seen Call Her Daddy? Just whip your tits out and talk on mic. You don't have to go to a scare mansion and get your tits chopped off. Keep them and be on camera. Use it to start a podcast, like you said.
Yeah, well, maybe it came full circle for that lady because she got to be on Hulu's documentary.
Yeah.
And now she's like, wow, I'm on a movie. Look at that.
That's true. That's true.
So,
do you think that this guy could sell you on the torture? Because that's something that I was also thinking about. Like, obviously, we're watching the documentary, and hindsight is 20/20. So you go, oh, I'm not gonna do this. But apparently, all the people that work for him say in the room he's this master salesman, master manipulator. That there were girls that were full stop against it, and then they watched Russ flip them in the room, and they end up going through the torture experience. Do you think that you would be able to make it out if you had to talk to him for an hour, or do you think he would end up convincing you?
Nothing could convince me. Like that was my thing, was that, and maybe, I mean, I have trust issues, so there is nothing. Okay, let's change this, because I'm like, there's nothing that man could say. There is nothing any man could say to me to ever let them have full control over me. Now let's change it to like a hot woman. And
was that a baby?
That's
oh, is that a cat? That's a cat. I keep forgetting you have a cat.
That's my cat. I'm just hiding. Zach went to Panama, and I'm hiding that I gave birth while you've been gone.
Yep.
No, it's my cat, and she sounds like a baby. And I swear, people, I did not give birth.
That was impressive. I was
baby.
Yeah, you're just.
I'll feed you soon when I'm done.
You're running a black market orphanage. There's going to be a documentary about you next week on Hulu. Just running an illegal orphanage out of Harlem.
Yes. We're in America, and clearly from Russ McKamey, all our dreams can come true. Yeah. And that's my line of work, Zach, and I take it very seriously.
There you go. But you were saying, I cut you off. You were saying if there's a hot woman involved. I was just trying
to flip the script a little bit, which doesn't fully make sense because, like, it's not like Russ McKamey's an attractive man. He's just like an average looking guy. So, but I was just trying to say, like, no man, because I'm just like, I would never listen to a man, honestly, in that scenario. But if it was a woman, maybe, like, I would be more inclined to get fooled by a woman, I think.
Who is your...
She doesn't even have to be hot. Just like women in general, I think, are better at... Like, if a woman, they're less likely to do it, which is why there are just not as many female serial killers, etc. However, I think when they do it, like, they're better at it.
Oh yeah, women are miles and miles in front of men in terms of psychological manipulation. I think every
Yeah.
serial killer is just a woman brain in a man body. That they're like, it was a man born with the psychological cunning of a woman, because guys, like, you see this all the time in sports and in a locker room. Guys bully each other and you'll shove each other and you'll talk shit, but you become friends with them in the end. Like, physical altercation brings guys closer. With women, they'll pretend to be friends with you and then steal your friends behind your back and just completely destroy your life in ways that you never recover from psychologically. So when you have a woman's brain in a body that can kill people, then that equals serial killer. So I definitely agree with you that if there was a woman running this, because it kind of got boring after a point. I'm like, you're doing the same shit. Every clip is just mud on the face and being tied up. I feel like a woman would show guys pictures of their ex getting fucked by their best friend. Like there was not a lot of psychological torture.
Yeah.
There was psychological torture because of the physicality, but I think a woman would make a haunted house that would just, they wouldn't even have to touch you because you'd kill yourself, like, yes. After what they showed you.
No, I think that's so true. And I think a woman would be better at, like, just fooling you and being like, oh, it's over. Like, or, oh, like, it's not starting yet. Like, don't worry about it. And then just immediately, like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think they would be better at manipulating the situation and just fooling me in particular. But still, like, if I'm signing a 40-page waiver and it says they might perform dental work on me and I'm not at my dentist's office,
yeah.
I'm not signing that waiver. So I don't think you're going to find me there.
What do you think, as a woman, what is something that you would introduce into McKamey Manor to psychologically torture something? Either something that's been done to you or you've done, just anything that pops into your head where you go, this would absolutely destroy a person and a man would never think of this.
That's actually a really good question, but I think you kind of thought of a good one. Like, yeah, bringing in the people that you love is always a power move. Like your parents or your partner or your kids, like something in that realm of, like, whether, your wife is cheating on you, even if she's not, like, if you could, like, simulate that or something, that would be insane. Or, like, posting, you know, there's always shit where it's like, oh, my nudes leaked or something, like something in that world of, like, posting, like, super private information, even if it's just a simulation, like, even if it just looks like you posted it, you know, as part of the show. But it seems like this type of shit is pretty real, so you might as well just post it, I guess. Yeah.
Or getting a hopeful text from your ex. I feel like guys are suckers for that. Like, I've been out with guys where their girlfriend breaks up with them, and, you know, it's a week or two later, and they're in the bar going, you know, I'm over her. It's fine. I'm fine. And I've done this too, where you just go, I'm fine. I'm not even thinking about her. I'm getting so much pussy. Who gives a shit? And then you get one hopeful text from your ex that was unprovoked by you. It's just out of nowhere. Wow. And she goes, hey, can we talk? And then you just go, you tell your friends, I gotta go. Like, fucking, like.
Your chest starts fluttering. You're like, ooh, what are we going to talk about? Like, maybe there's hope.
Exactly.
Maybe there's hope. And then you pick up the phone and they're like, get the fuck off my Hulu account.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You make one room in the McKamey Manor that's hopeful text from your ex, and then you go to the next room and it's just calls destroying your life. So it's just like this insane flip of emotions, a huge dichotomy right next to each other.
Yeah. I watched a movie, I think that was kind of, I could be wrong because it's been a minute, but it's called Cam, I think. Let's see, Cam movie, and it was weird as shit. So it's on Netflix. You should watch it. It has 93% on Rotten Tomatoes by the Tomato Meter. However, it's always funny on Rotten Tomatoes when you look, and, like, the critics say it's fresh, but then the audience is like, shit was not fresh.
Yeah.
Because it's like 93% by critics, but only 54% by the audience. I still think it was worth watching because it was interesting. It was basically like she was a cam girl. It was a movie about her being a cam girl, like on OnlyFans or something. And yeah, it just like totally went kind of in this world of what we're talking about, where like a lot of the things that she did on camera were then like posted places they shouldn't have been posted or things like that. And it just totally like fucked with her mind.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I think that would be, this is the female McKamey Manor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, women need to step up the torture and the serial killing. You can't just leave all this stuff to guys. I feel like if women are equal now in society, so that also includes murder and torture and everything. So
I feel like it's happening more.
Yeah, and
honestly, I mean, it's still like it's still super off balance.
Yeah.
Like the amount of men that kill people and do horrible things, but I do think it's kind of happening a bit more.
Yeah, I'd like
where, not that I'm encouraging that. I'm just saying. I mean, I just think it's kind of happening a little bit.
I'd like to see the gender murder gap close a little bit. That means, you know, it's symbolic.
If we're asking for gender gaps to close, it does include all gender gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a sign that we're getting further and further. We're progressing in society. It's not just about pay. It's not just about rights, but it's also, you know, how much violence can you inflict on strangers or partners, and, you know, women deserve a chance at that too. So I
think for women, it would be like a retreat. We would call it a retreat.
Yes.
And we'd be like, come to this retreat. And it would start really like we're just all sitting around. It would start so great. Like you're in the comfiest clothes. Your bed is so comfortable. Scenic views. It's gorgeous. Okay. You're feeling good. We're going to start you off feeling so good. We're going to get you feeling so comfortable that your walls are already down. And that's when we're coming in for the kill.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's just you're in downward dog and then you get your throat slit. And then like and you're like, and then everyone else is just doing yoga around you. And you're just like, I'm calm, but I'm also bleeding out. I'm not really sure what's happening. And
nobody moves. They continue just doing their poses.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. There's a sound bowl that scrambles your brain as soon as it starts vibrating. You're like, oh my god, I think I'm going insane. So yeah, that would definitely be a creative way to do it. Is kind of like you said, get people's guards down, relax them, maybe do a kumbaya song, sing along, and then you know that's when you do knife to the ribs. You come up behind someone, you strangle them as you're getting to the chorus. And it's just like, you know.
We're baptizing you. We're cleansing you. And then we just drown you. Super casual stuff.
It's a special type of torture to hear song and dance as you're dying. That is something that's extra.
Yeah.
Like people are like, you're just having a sing along, like, if I lay here, and you're just suffocating. If I just lay here.
I love that this song came to your head.
Snow Patrol, you know?
You've been listening to Snow Patrol recently.
Yeah, you know, it's the song that never dies.
Fan.
It's a
number one fan.
It's a song that never dies, even when people are dying. And that's why.
I still remember the music video for that. And he is, in fact, just laying there.
Yeah. And imagine you're just like laying there. Bleeding out, the camera's spinning over you 360. Snow Patrol is playing live at the retreat center because you paid for them to show up, and like that's the last thing that you experience is like a live Snow Patrol concert in the distance as you're just losing consciousness. That's
shit. That would be like a terrible way to go.
Yeah. You're like, what the fuck did I just sign? Like the last thing you think is, I paid $4,000 for this retreat weekend. And what
like
the fuck happened?
At least get like fucking Rihanna or something.
Yeah.
Christ, if I'm gonna die to a musical performance, I need better than Snow Patrol.
Oh nah, what's my name? Oh no.
At least I die that way.
Yeah. I'd be like, all right, you know, this is
not bad.
Not bad. Just like trying to shake my shoulders a bit as I'm losing feeling in my body. I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we came up with another great idea. So, Russ, if you need a business partner, I think, we came up with great ideas. So here we are. We'll do our own thing maybe because I don't want to we need to make sure we profit from this.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want to go to jail.
Yeah. We'll call it.
Yeah.
We'll call it the Breaking Takes Bliss House to trick people. We'll just
honestly, we could make like a whole website and it just looks so beautiful, like such a beautiful retreat.
Yeah. It'll be culty too. We'll have white dresses, flowing, people smiling, telling you you're gonna upgrade your life. And then the house will start blissful, and then it'll slowly devolve into an absolute hellhole. I feel like that's a good way to do it.
Yes. Well, any final thoughts on that? And if not, I can get into just, we can close on just a list of the scariest movies according to science.
I had one more question for you that we can both answer. If you had to pick one just extremely jarring moment from the film, something that you saw and you go, this is so fucked up. What do you think that moment is for you with the McKamey Manor documentary that stands out above the rest?
Honestly, the scariest thing for me was just his reaction to everything. Sounded like he just nutted in his pants.
Yeah.
That was the scariest thing to me.
Yeah, that was pretty scary.
What about you?
There was one part where he was holding the camera and the girl's screaming. I think she's getting waterboarded or mud thrown on her. And Russ says, if you die, at least you'll be on camera. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, that is some fucking gruesome shit right there. And then I started thinking about like, how do you get from picking up a camcorder and making home movies, because that's how everyone starts. You buy a camera, you just start filming shit in your house, because he didn't start with the torture videos. How do you get from picking up a camera and just filming butterflies and making coffee, and then all of a sudden he's talking to a girl that's gagged and tied up, waterboarding her, and saying, if you die, at least you'll be on camera? Like, what happened to Russ McKamey? That I think that was
what did happen to him? He just, I don't know. I mean, so what? He has like major control issues. So I'd assume like in his childhood, he probably didn't have a lot of control. So he obsesses over control. Yeah. I say this as a control freak myself. But
me too. I definitely have those tendencies. I'd say that
probably had something to do with it. And I mean, I don't know. I can't really speak for, because I think a lot of men get off on inflicting pain on women. So, and that's something that I don't know. So I don't really understand where that comes from. It's got to just be a power thing. Like he just felt like he had no control and no power growing up. And now that's like his whole MO.
Yeah, I know there are guys and women that are into that. For me, I do like having control, but I also like giving up control, because I feel like I'm so I'm kind of like you, where I'm very in control during the day, and I plan everything out, and I have a routine. And then if we're talking about in the bedroom stuff, I like if someone else takes control, I like just being like, all right, like I don't have to, have a bullet point list for this. I don't have to do anything. Just like I'll just sit here and you tell me what to do. That can also be pretty freeing. For me, I know people kind of sway back and forth with those tendencies.
Well, not Russ McKamey. I don't know if that's happening in his world.
Yeah, no, I think
full control.
If I had to guess,
he only gets off if you're like literally chained to a wall.
Yeah, I think something bad happened to him when he was a kid, and he never dealt with it. And not that this makes
Yeah,
not that
probably.
this makes an excuse for anything that he's doing, because it doesn't. It's your own responsibility to handle your shit. But you often see abusers that got abused early in their life and they never process it, and so they abuse other people to try to reclaim that sense of control. So if I had to guess, I would say there's a pretty high chance that he had something pretty traumatic happen to him when he was either a kid or a young adult, and this thing that he never processed is the driver of why he feels the need to control everyone else. Either that, or he's just a complete sociopath. So who knows?
Yeah.
People are born
I love
like
that.
that.
We always circle back. In my opinion, we always circle back to like, these people just need to go see a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, that could save you a lot of trouble, people. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It saves you a lot of trouble. So just go to therapy and maybe you won't go to jail.
Yeah. And this is
amazing.
This is why BetterHelp needs to sponsor us, because we talk about such traumatic stories that there's always an angle to come in with the therapy. And you could say, like, you know, if you just go to 3 sessions of therapy, 30 to 60 minutes, then you won't try to sleep with a girl that's passed out in a haunted house that you're torturing people in. You can avoid, like, you don't have to become the Bill Cosby of haunted houses if you just go to therapy 2 times. So,
yeah. I think there's a thin line between Russ McKamey and Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you I watched Monster, which was, you know, the whole, drama. It was like, what is that called when it's like a drama series, but it's like based on real events or whatever.
Biographical drama,
something like that. But that is pretty much like the other side of the coin, I think, to like Russ. It's just like, you're that close to being Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Because Jeffrey, like, kind of was the same thing where, you know, his childhood, like his parents were going through like a nasty divorce. He was pretty like socially, honestly, Jeffrey just had social issues. Like, he needed to be going to therapy as a kid because he probably was on the spectrum somewhere, or just definitely needed to talk to somebody or be on some sort of mood medication that helped him like process the fact that his parents are going through a nasty divorce, and maybe help him make friends, like things like that, because he just ended up bottling it all up.
Yeah.
And then as he got older, like the first person he killed, it just was like, he just like lashed out, and then he felt really bad afterwards, like that he killed this person. And then obviously, like, I'm not trying to give him any sympathy, but it just goes to show you that like these things come from just not getting your shit sorted out. Like, just go to therapy.
Yeah, that's a great.
So Russ McKamey's like this close to killing somebody. Like, as I was watching his documentary, I'm like, one of these days he's going to accidentally kill somebody.
Oh, for sure. Russ McKamey is like Jeffrey Dahmer light, and
yes, basically,
I could definitely see him killing someone and then liking it, and then he just buries people in the walls of his haunted house, and no one ever finds out.
That would be fucking crazy.
Yeah, like the skeletons you see on the haunted house tour are the skeletons of the people that have died in the house.
It smells weird in here. He's like, oh, I got that specially made just for the effect of the haunted house.
Yeah.
It's like, it's actually real rotting flesh.
Yeah, it's specially made in the van behind my house. I did it myself. So yeah, it's a good advertisement for therapy. If you go to therapy, you may not, you know, start a haunted house where you torture people or keep people in barrels in your apartment like pickles. So
that's true. Ferment pickles, not people. Okay.
Wow, that is a shirt. That is a Breaking Take shirt for sure. We have to remember that. Ferment pickles, not people.
But okay, just to close out the show,
yes.
It's been a Halloween spooktacular. It's rare that we talk about one topic for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I had fun though. That was a good time.
Yeah, it's good to break it down. So we hope you enjoyed that. Definitely look into it. You know, maybe drop us a a message. If you're interested in going to McKamey Manor, contact us because I want to learn more about you. And you know what? I maybe want to consider talking you out of it. But there's $20,000. So, maybe you just need 20 grand.
Or if you've been to McKamey Manor and want to talk about your experience on the show, we would love to do a follow-up episode. So definitely hit us up on Instagram, email.
Yeah. But to give you guys something to watch this spooky season up to Halloween, I came across an article that lists the 20 scariest horror movies of all time according to science. So being that it's according to science, they essentially measured like your blood pressure and your heart rate and just like the spikes of it as you're watching these movies. And that's how they calculate it. Like, okay, these movies are the scariest. Should I start from the least scariest?
Yeah, let's build up
to the scariest. Okay. Yeah. So I hate when the website starts it like at the most scary. Because I'm like, why would I want to, like, come on now. But now I got to scroll to the bottom. Let's see. All right. So coming in at number 20 is the original Scream, which is great. I love that movie. Shout out to Drew Barrymore. I actually didn't expect that to be on the list because it's a pretty old movie.
Was that her breakout role, Scream?
No. So Drew Barrymore was a child actor.
Oh, that's right.
Thus, like, a lot of her issues, but she's like a wonderful woman now because she probably went to therapy.
Yeah, and she's also done a lot of drugs, according to her. Yes, she says she had that wild period. She was drinking
and doing drugs when she was like 12.
Yeah.
So shit was fucked up. So yeah, she was a child actor. This was one of her first movies. This came out in 1997. I'm guessing she was at least like an older teenager at that point, probably like 19 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
Classic director, Wes Craven. The resting BPM was at 65 and the highest BPM strike was at 81. So that's not really too bad.
Okay. So they measured all these movies with the heart monitor to see how much it spikes you. Okay.
Yes. Next is the new It. So the one that came out in 2017, not the original It movie. The resting BPM there was 65. The highest spike was at 89. So that's pretty close to Scream. I've seen the original It and the newer It. I think the story is scarier than the movies, maybe.
Yeah, I've only seen the new It movies, and it's very creepy. And the guy who plays the clown, it's Skarsgård.
So good.
It does a great job.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Great job.
Does a great job. But I wouldn't say it was jump scary. It wasn't really a heart rate pumper.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like too CGI a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, and that's kind of what it was like it just like manifests as things almost. But coming in at number 18 is Hush, which I have seen. I think that's on Netflix. Have you seen Hush by any chance? No. So that's a movie starring one of my favorite actors. I think her name is Kate Siegel.
Okay.
And the director is Mike Flanagan. So Mike Flanagan does all like The Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. A new one just dropped. Shout out to Baltimore and Edgar Allan Poe. The House of Usher, The Fall of the House of Usher,
I've just dropped
on Netflix.
I've seen that. Not like the series,
he's one of my favorites.
I saw it pop up. Yeah.
I'm in the middle of watching that now. He's one of my favorite. Midnight Mass is just personally one of my favorite horror series ever. It's the coolest take on vampires, in my opinion, that's ever happened. Yeah.
And it's on Netflix?
I just thought, yeah, you should watch it. I mean, it just is a fresh take on vampires, which is really nice. Like, because, we all know the tropes of vampirism and whatnot. So I just thought it was a really fresh take of something that like, oh, I hadn't seen anything like that before. Yeah. That's really cool. So definitely watch that, people, if you haven't.
I love vampire shit. and
you have to
I'm
watch
definitely going
it
to check
then.
it out. If anyone, this is a book, but if anyone's interested in vampire stuff and you're looking for something to read this week around Halloween, it's not that long of a read, so you could probably finish it before the end of the month. Salem's Lot by Stephen King is so fucking creepy, and the end, I'm like shivering, fucking like reading it. It fucks with your sleep so bad.
Screaming, crying, throwing
screaming,
up,
crying.
shitting your pants.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I didn't have. I'm surprised I didn't have night terrors like my brother, where I'm just awake in the middle of the night seeing fucking vampires. But I did have some gnarly nightmares from it. So, and it's also just a great book. It's not just jump scary. It's not the build up to it, in my opinion, is
all in the build up.
One of the greatest pieces of vampire content that I've ever consumed, movies, books, TVs. So Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and I will check out Midnight Mass also.
Yeah. One thing that I love about Mike Flanagan is he's big on the build up. And Hush, what's cool about Hush is that the actor, she's not deaf, but in the movie she plays a deaf character. So it's a really cool play on like kind of like a home invasion for a deaf person, which is just a cool, like, I love that he brings these like in these like real concepts or just like old concepts like vampires and kind of gives it such a fresh take. So the resting BPM from that movie was 65. The highest was 85. Moving on to number 17 was 2001's The Exorcist, which
I'm not
sure if I've seen that. I mean, I don't know. It's 2001's forever ago.
But I saw...
I guess there's the original, right?
No, because I saw the original Exorcist, and I believe that was from the 70s or the 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
When I was in middle school, I snuck to my friend's house to watch The Exorcist, and that was fucking terrifying watching it at 13 years old. But I'm pretty sure it's from the 80s or something like that. I can double check real quick.
I couldn't tell you because I personally feel like there's about 30 Exorcist movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is what. I don't know if I've watched it or not. I can tell you that from this movie that came out in 2001, the resting BPM was 65 and the highest spike was 92.
Oh, okay. So this is the 2001. The first one was 1973. Yes. FYI.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the...
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
If that one's on the list. The OG. Moving up to 16 is 28 Days Later. That is just a great
Love
movie.
That. Oh, God.
In general. That movie is like, just psychological. Great. The resting BPM was 65. The highest spike was 95. Definitely, if you haven't watched that, you just have to watch it. It's just, I can't say anything else.
I wouldn't even put that in the horror category, but it is. I do see how it's jump scary because there's a lot. It's the first zombie movie where they start fucking sprinting. I don't think any other movies before that had zombies that sprint, and there's just it has a very quick pace and there's a lot of surprises. So I can see, how it happens there. Would love to see a deaf person in a zombie invasion too. Like someone's just in their house cooking stew and there's 19 zombies behind them trying to eat their flesh, and why not throw deaf person in there also.
Also, it has Cillian Murphy in it, which, I mean, just look at him. That's all you need to know.
Beast.
Just look at him. He's designed for a movie like that.
Beast.
Yes. Next on the list at 15 is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think is scary just because that introduced chainsaws into horror, which is cool, I guess. And it is based on it's loosely based on a real story.
I haven't seen it, but is it Hitchhiker? Is it a Hitchhiker movie or?
It's been a while since I've watched the original. I don't know. I think that they could just maybe show up at the house. I'm not sure. I think I've seen, because now there's a lot of other Texas Chainsaw Massacres, so I've honestly gotten them all mixed up in what was in which film. But I do know this movie has the iconic scene of the actress running out the door and Leatherface just grabbing her from behind and pulling her back in.
Yeah.
That came out in 1974.
Okay.
And the resting BPM was 65, and the highest BPM spike was 98.
Okay, we're getting up there. Almost triple digits.
Yep, we're starting to climb. This one had me laugh because you just recently told me about that you watched this movie. So number 14 is the original Halloween, which is Michael Myers himself.
Yeah, I did not get scared by that at all, but I also wasn't wearing a heart rate monitor, so I'd be interested to see what it actually said.
Scared.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, for whatever reason, it just was corny to me because I've seen so much new CGI and technology.
Well, it's always funny.
Yeah.
Because, like,
it's
the
funny.
dude, first of all, he's, like, invincible. And second,
he's slow.
He's so slow.
Yeah, he's literally he's taking baby steps across this person's house, and she's just like literally, she's trying to get away by a guy who's essentially crawling the speed of an infant to kill her. So to me, I was like, this is kind of funny.
Yes.
Not really scary, but who knows? Maybe in my subconscious and in my heart, I was being scared.
Yeah, and we love Jamie Lee Curtis, legend. I'm noticing now that it's just telling me the resting BPM, which is like always 65. So the spike was 101, which now, I mean, hey, all right, interesting. Yeah. Another legendary movie coming in at 13 is the original Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm personally a huge fan of that movie. I love the idea of like the dream.
Yeah.
Like, because we all have to go to sleep. That's pretty scary to me. It's like you can't not go to sleep.
Yeah.
So
it's like people who are addicted to food.
Cool.
Like if you have a food addiction, you can't not eat. You have to face it eventually. Also, another one I haven't seen. I haven't seen a lot of the classic horror movies.
You got to see the classics. That's a good one. The BPM spike was at 104.
Okay.
So we're climbing.
It's close
and
to
now
a workout.
We have
That's like semi-workout.
We've got a big jump. Yeah. We get a big jump from 13 to number 12. Number 12, this movie came out in 2018. I have seen it. It's called A Quiet Place. Which is directed by John Krasinski and stars his wife, Emily Blunt.
And he's in it too, right? John Krasinski. It's both of them?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yes.
Okay.
Which John Krasinski is from The Office. I'm sure most everybody has seen The Office. But the spike is at 122.
Wow.
Which is a big jump from 104 with The Nightmare on Elm Street.
That is a big jump.
And I really liked that movie as well. I thought that was a cool concept. So shout out to that. Number 11, a classic, The Ring.
I've seen that.
Well, wait a second. I am confused here. Because okay. I'm just confused at what's going on here because now The Ring is listed at number 11, but the highest spike was at 107. But it says...
What was the resting?
The resting is 65. It says the difference is at like 14% though. I don't know.
Okay, so maybe it's doing the difference between your resting and your spike, and not just pure...
Yeah, but the spike wouldn't that it would still be smaller number.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're pretty close.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but that movie, I love The Ring. I mean, come on now, we love Miss Thang that crawls out of a well.
Samara.
So yes, my girl. So shout out.
My first crush.
Number 10 is a movie I haven't seen. Was that your first crush?
Yeah,
she looks good.
I couldn't get enough.
You like long hair?
That was my style. I love just like a soulless, cold woman that wanted to kill me, and now my girlfriend matches that. So, yeah, Samara was my first crush.
Okay, I see what it's doing here. So it's actually giving us the resting, which is always 65. Mm-hmm. It's giving like your average throughout the movie. And then it's also giving the highest spike. So A Quiet Place had the highest spike, but the resting was 65 and the movie BPM was 78.
Okay.
So The Ring was 79, which puts it a little bit higher. And then number 10 is also at 79. It's a movie I've not seen, The Visit. So that is now on my list.
Haven't seen
to
it.
See. Yeah, that's by M. Night. What's his
Shyamalan?
name? M. Night. Yes, I didn't know how to pronounce that, but he's kind of OG horror guy.
What year was The Visit? Because he's kind of fallen off a cliff recently. A lot of people don't like his stuff, but back in the day with
this is 2015, so he was still in his prime.
Okay, yeah. What's the big Shyamalan movie? Not The Shining. That wasn't. It was the twist. I See Dead People. It's like his big.
Oh, The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. Yes, that's like the one that I was thinking of.
Well, he got he was big when he did the movie Split.
Yes, that's also a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. So that's going to be on my list to watch. Moving on from that, number 9 is The Descent, which I have seen. That is
scary as fuck.
That's a good movie.
Yep.
Is that like, are they cave diving in that?
Yeah.
Is that one of those?
Yeah, they're going through a cave and they find
on its
those
own. That's a horror movie on its own.
Oh yeah, I've been in a cave once, and it was pretty jarring for sure. So if creatures started chasing me, I would probably kill myself.
Yeah, so that one's still only a 14% difference, but the highest spike was at 122.
Okay.
So we're going up. Number 8 is the Babadook.
Know the movie, but haven't seen it.
I saw it. I have to admit, I personally didn't think it was that scary, but it's constantly on the list. Is it based on a real story? Maybe that's why. Anything that's based on like a real story, people are like, that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
And this moves the difference up to 15% because the average beats per minute was at 80 throughout the movie, but the highest spike was only at 116.
Okay.
And number 7, just to keep this train moving, The Conjuring 2 is number 7. That came out in 2016. That's also a 15% difference, but the highest spike was at 120.
Yeah.
And I like the Conjuring series.
Yeah, that was scary.
Number 6 is It Follows, which is probably still on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for a long time. I like that movie. I thought that people kind of didn't like it as much, but I enjoyed it.
Is it? So, it's the sequel to the modern It series?
No, It Follows has no relation to that. It's like, yeah, it's based in like a high school or something. I don't want to spoil things for people. So, but yeah, totally unrelated. That clocks in at a 16% difference with your average heart rate at 81. However, it doesn't really spike. It only goes up to 93, but I guess you're just stressed out the whole time.
Yeah, interesting. It has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 2.8 out of 5 on Google ratings. So very divisive.
Yeah, right? I enjoyed it. Number 5, cult classic for us, our generation, Paranormal Activity. Yep. The original Paranormal Activity.
I was waiting for
that.
Which
was super, super cool. I enjoyed that just for... Now I'd probably think it's stupid, but at the time it was like major. And that clocks in at a 17% difference with your average rate at 82 and your highest spike at 127.
Yeah, super jump scare.
You're going up
You're
there.
Basically jogging right now. Like when you're watching that movie, it's a full cardio workout because you're just like constantly you're like, oh, what is gonna... I remember being in the theater for that and just being so fucking freaked out from watching that movie. And then I remember learning later that the first one cost $10,000 to make and ended up, it's like one of the I think it might be the biggest difference all time in terms of the box office versus the budget. The first Paranormal Activity made like millions of dollars.
It says here the budget was $15,000 US dollars, which is nothing, and they got 193.4 million US dollars.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
The box office, and that's why like 10 more came out after it.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 4, this is a great movie, Hereditary. That came out in 2018. That is an 18% difference with your average heart rate at 83. There's not a big spike there, only at 109, but the actors in that movie are phenomenal.
Hereditary.
The story itself is phenomenal, and I recommend watching that.
I have not seen that either.
You just watch like the first 30 minutes and it'll have your jaw on the floor probably.
Hereditary. You got to send me this list when we're done. There's like 4 or 5 that I definitely need to check out.
Yeah, number 3. We're now in the top 3. So is the original Conjuring, not the Conjuring 2. So that has a 20% difference with your average rate at 85 and your spike up to 129. And that's cool because it's also based on a real story, which always makes it more scary. Number 2 is Insidious, which is a good series. I like that one. That moves up to a 21% difference with your average rate at 86 and your highest spike at 133.
Damn. What is Insidious?
Is moving up there.
What's Insidious about again? Because I keep thinking of The Conjuring when I think of Insidious because I think they came out around the same time.
The Conjuring is like The Conjuring is based on like the Jeff and Lorraine Warren, like the famous like ghost expellers or whatever. And like the house is haunted. Okay. And Insidious is more, if I'm remembering correctly, is more about lucid dreaming.
Okay.
And so like, if you're just lucid dreaming, just like as you drift off into a dream state, you start seeing like crazy shit. So,
there's a new one,
roll, please.
A new one that came out this year, just as a sidetrack. Insidious 2023.
I bet. Watch the original, like first couple ones; they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And to come in at number 1, which I need to rewatch this movie because I can't remember if I watched it or not. But the number 1 movie is Sinister.
Okay.
And so many people all over the comment section are like, that movie is the scariest movie I've ever seen. So the difference in your heart rate is at a 32%.
Jesus.
With your resting at 65 and your average at 86 and your highest BPM strike at 131.
God damn.
Yeah. There we have it, people. I hope we didn't bore you there. I hope that we gave you some great material to watch.
Sinister. I'm just looking up what the plot was about again because I definitely remember watching it, but I don't remember specifically what it was about.
Don't tell me because I want to rewatch it.
No, I won't say like what happens, but I just want to see generally what it's about. It says, it's based on a true crime gruesome murder. Ethan Hawke is a struggling true crime writer. So not based on a true crime, but Ethan Hawke's a true crime writer. Love Ethan Hawke. Discovery, who discovers films in his house depicting gruesome murders and puts his family in danger. So there it is. Ethan Hawke, true crime writer, discovers some films in his house. Now it's kind of coming back to me. Came out in 2012, so it's been a while, but I definitely need to rewatch it.
Yeah, well, there it is for us as well. We kept this show on the road, a horror spectacular.
Yes.
Hope we gave you a lot of material to watch this spooky season.
And if you're wearing any sort of Whoop straps or Apple heart rate monitors, let us know what your average heart rate was during this podcast because we definitely talked about some gruesome stuff. And like we said at the beginning, we are both jump scary wearing our skin costumes. So if you're listening or watching this, even our voices can be scary. Sometimes my voice cracks and it even surprises me and my heart rate goes up. So let us know, what your heart rate was at if you're watching this. And we hope everyone has a fantastic and safe, scary Halloween weekend. And this is coming out, if you're listening to this, it's coming out the Friday before Halloween. So
hell yeah,
give you, if you want to listen to something, get in the mood, you're putting your costume on, you need something to play as you're getting ready. We hope you're getting G'd up for a G'd up Halloween weekend. Absolute gangster weekend.
G. When I think G, I'm like LGBT. I was like, everybody have a gay weekend.
That's what I mean.
Woo!
That's what I mean. Get ready. If you're a guy, suck some cocks. If you're a woman, you're going down, scissoring, getting that,
hell yeah,
getting your face in that puss. That's what. When I get G'd up, I'm getting ready to deep throat. A nice, just a nice thick scrotum because that's the type of guy I am. I'm a ball guy. I'm not a shaft guy. So get G'd up. Have a gangster weekend. And, if you want some more episodes, go to breakingtakes.supercast.com and It grows every month. If you're listening to this, there's 3 episodes out there right now, 4 soon, and it grows every month. So you get bonus episodes. You can become part of the show, suggest topics for us to talk about. And if you can't do that, you can send the episode to a friend. Also rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you leave a comment with your rating on Apple Podcasts, we will read that on the next episode, whether it's good or bad. Whatever you write, we will react to it and read it on the show, which is a pretty big deal because we're both celebrities and we're famous, and you want to get in now while you can still reach us, because pretty soon we'll be unreachable.
There's a list of 30,000 people, and you might never be able to reach out to us unless you're hot. And then you can skip the line.
Or you give us 20 grand and we'll read your comment. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for listening, and I wish you all a very happy Halloween.
Boo.